Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Now, I'm joined today with Gary Carpenter and Al Hoffman. Today, we're kicking off a crash course on how annuities affect college financial aid, especially under the FAFSA rules for 26, 27, and beyond. Now, here's a question many families have often asked us. If I put money away for retirement, is it going to hurt my child's financial aid eligibility? Well, the answer to this is sometimes yes and sometimes no. Today, we will be talking about the complexity of some of the FAFSA rules when it comes to qualified and non-qualified retirement plans and completing the FAFSA. So stick with us because we're going to try to simplify the rules, or calm the confusion and help you make smart financial decisions for your family. So, Al, I'm going to turn it over to you to let you get us started.
The FAFSA, thank you, Chuck. The FAFSA decides whether your family qualifies for need-based aid. Now, you still have to deal with the fact that the colleges have their own formula of how much they're going to give you, but the starting point is the Student Aid Index, SAI, created by the FAFSA. There's four calculations in that FAFSA. There's an income for the student, assets for the student, income for the parent or parents, and assets for the parent or parents. So income is this prior year thing, but assets are at time of signing. So the topic today is going to be obviously in the second part, parent assets. Most of the time, students don't have these issues, but it does apply to them as well. Understanding whether your annuity shows up as income, an asset, or neither can make the difference between thousands of dollars in college aid or none at all. So let's try to get into that answer now that I've kind of set the stage. Annuity is simply a contract, usually with an insurance company, where you give them money now and it will normally grow tax deferred. Can't beat that. Whether you get ready, when you get ready to withdraw your funds, you will pay taxes on the deferred returns. Some annuities are meant for retirement. As a matter of fact, let me say most annuities are meant for retirement, but not all. Some are meant for investing, and that's the purpose of what determines how the FAFSA will treat it. All right, so let's get into terms. This is pretty easy, really, but sounds complicated, but it's really not. There's just two, qualified and non-qualified. Qualified annuities are set up as retirement plans, and non-qualified annuities are set up as regular investments. That single difference is everything when it comes to the FAFSA. Now, I just want to make mention of the fact that here the FAFSA is not very clear on this. This is one of these interpretive things that if you don't know what you're talking about or you don't understand what they're asking, you could make an honest mistake. I'm going to say an honest mistake. I'm not sure if that's an oxymoron or not, but anyway, a mistake on your FAFSA. So be accurate and clear and honest. There is a differentiation between these two types of annuities. Now, Gary, you're our money guy, so I'm going to, before I mess this up too much more, I think I've kept it clear as possible, but what's up, Gary?
Al, thank you. Excuse me. And again, you've made it very clear and straightforward. And I'm here because I'm an accountant to make it complicated and hard to understand. Okay. So you got to pay attention now. Annuities. As Al said, there's a qualified annuity and an unqualified annuity. Qualified annuities are going to be in a retirement account. That could be a 401k, a traditional IRA, a Roth, a simplified IRA. If it's in a retirement account, it's going to be a qualified annuity. And you're not going to have to report it as an asset on the FAFSA form. Now, what's so important about that? Well, make sure if you're going to go into an annuity, go into it for the right reasons. If it's for retirement, Good, go into it. Make sure you do it before the base year of school or before they go into college themselves. Because if you put a lump
Gary,
sum,
real quick, just because I know that you know, and Gary, Chuck knows, and I know, but just for the sake of the people listening here, can you tell us that base year thing?
oh, base year, I'm sorry. Let's take the 26-27 academic year. They're going to look at assets today when you file the FAFSA form. And we're right now almost in November. But they're going to look at income in the previous year. In other words, 2024. So again, to simplify this whole thing, we're going to file for the 26-27 academic year and report a base year of 2024. So again, simplifying this whole thing down is if you've got a base year, that's usually the first year in which you start out for school. You're probably still in high school. You're doing your first FAFSA form. You're going to be going out, maybe going to school, maybe a year after you file your FAFSA form. Once you're in school, every year you're in school, there's going to be a base year that's going to be on the FAFSA form. So, Al, I hope I was able to clarify that for you.
I
I'm
think
sorry
what
to
you're
butt in, but it is something that I think we need to make sure our people understand. So go ahead, Chuck.
I think to simplify this is that your income is going to be based off the last two prior years. For example, if you file the FAFSA in 2026, you use the income on the FAFSA for 2024. When it comes to assets, it is at the time you're completing the FAFSA.
Correct. Absolutely. Now, let's talk about unqualified annuities. These are ones that are outside of a retirement account. They can be acquired through an insurance organization, but it's a way in which families, individuals also, can invest money, defer it into the future as far as taxation, and take it out at another time when they need the money. Now, if you've got a regular annuity that's not in a retirement account, that is an assessable asset, meaning that you have to report that asset on the FAFSA form. And what's the impact of that? Well, let's say you have a $40,000 non-qualified annuity. You have to report that as an asset, as a parent asset. It's going to be assessed at 5.6% available for college costs. So it's going to reduce the financial aid by $2,260. Let me go through that one more time. You got a $40,000 annuity. You have to report it. Assets are reported at 5.6%, and that means it's going to increase your student aid index by $2,260. So again, you have to identify what type of annuities you're talking about or what types of annuities you're involved in. If it's a retirement, it's not going to be reported as an assessable asset. If it's an unqualified annuity, it's an assessable asset, and it's going to be assessed at 5.6%. Each year you have that annuity in your investments. So Chuck, I think I've done a pretty good job of, confusing people a little bit, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions coming later on. And by the way, I'll be off for the next 2 weeks, so don't bother me with the questions. Okay.
There you go. Well, one of the things some financial advisors will claim putting assets into an annuity, the FAFSA won't see them. However, that only is true for qualified annuities like what Gary just got through explaining. Now, many families accidentally choose the wrong type of annuity and may run into big problems and could lose potential financial aid. So, know the difference between a qualified annuity and an unqualified annuity. Now, with that said, let me explain to you a little bit on the difference between a retirement plan versus an insurance product. Now, here's a very simple rule that I always go by. If your annuity shows up on a W-2 or a tax advantage retirement form that your employer gives you, the assets that you got in there is likely excluded from the FAFSA because it's a retirement plan. Now, however, if you're sent a private annuity insurance statement, like maybe what you would similar get from your yearly update on a cash value life insurance contract, and you get that from your insurance company, you'll probably have to include it as an asset on the FAFSA. Now, if you're not sure, you need to ask your insurance agent and have them check and show you the IRS classifications on this. They don't just take their word for it that, hey, you can exclude this off the FAFSA. You have to go ahead and make sure that it is classified, or how it's classified with the Internal Revenue Service. So, Al, I'm going to turn this back over to you for some additional information that you may have.
Well, again, the formulas are pretty clear. The income and assets of the student, income and assets of the parent. So we're focusing here mostly on the parent as our talking today. But retirement money is protected because the government doesn't want parents to sacrifice retirement to pay for tuition. So that's pretty clear. And I think that Gary and Chuck have made that very, very well. That point very, very well. It's also important to point out who owns that annuity. Parent-owned annuities count differently than student-owned or grandparent-owned annuities. If the annuity is owned by the student, the asset is penalized much higher. That's 20% instead of what Gary said about 5.6. Significantly different. Therefore, parents should own the annuity if colleges are in the goal of the higher education plans of the family. There's one little point here I want to make on the difference, the FAFSA versus the profile. If your colleges use the CSS profile, and not only about 10% of the colleges do. We have about 2,400 popular four-year institutions and 242 that use the CSS profile. So people ask me all the time, well, you missed the colleges on the CSS profile. No, there's only 10%. It's mostly those colleges that have endowments or something of that nature that want to use the CSS profile. But 90% of the colleges do not use the profile. All right, having said that, if your colleges use the CSS profile, all annuities may be counted, even qualified ones. Private schools using CS have their own rules, so always check the college's financial aid form. This is a very critical point. I mean, there's two big issues, and when it comes to the CSS profile that makes it different calculation than the FAFSA. The CSS profile still uses the old nomenclature, the expected family contribution, or EFC. But that being said, keep in mind that they're not going to be the same calculation on those two separate forms. All right, that's all I had to bring to bear on this. Gary, do you have a little bit more?
Just a quick couple items here, and we'll pass it back to Chuck. As we've repeated several times, people think that annuities will shelter the asset. Okay. They may. And again, it depends on the type of annuity it is. If it's a qualified annuity in a retirement account, it's not going to have to be reported. But if it's unqualified, you're going to have to report that asset. And again, we haven't talked about withdrawals. What happens if you start withdrawing money from these annuities? Well, those withdrawals are going to be assessed as untaxed income, and you're going to have to report those on the FAFSA form. So again, it's complicated and it isn't for everyone, but if you are interested in annuities, do your homework, investigate it. understand what you're getting into. And is it going to be for retirement, or are you doing it as another investment vehicle? Because that's going to impact your financial aid also. So again, we've done a good job in going through this, and I understand that people are still probably scratching their heads. So I'm going to pass it back to Chuck now and let him sort the whole thing out for us. Chuck, here you go.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Well, thanks, Gary and Al, for your expertise. Now, before we close, let's summarize exactly what we went over here. Remember, the qualified annuity accumulations are not counted as an asset on the FAFSA, and non-qualified annuity accumulations are counted on the FAFSA and must be reported. Now, it's important to remember retirement should always come first. That's even come first before even paying for your kids' college education. So they're two separate things. Is that your retirement comes first. Once you have your retirement set up and you contribute your income into those items, that is the main priority. College, paying for college is secondary. You now know more about annuities and the FAFSA form than most financial advisors do out there on the market today by what we just went over.
Chuck.
Yes, I'm getting sissy here. Now, thanks for listening today, and be sure to join us for more episodes on smart ways to pay for college without losing sleep or sacrificing your retirement. Also, visit our website at www.prepareforcollege.com. Now, that's prepare, the number 4, college.com for more ideas on how to pay for college without running into massive debt. Now, you can also check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@ prepare for college. Now, don't forget to tune in next week for other podcasts on helping you pay for the cost of a college education. So I hope everyone has a good Halloween today, and goodbye, and have a great day.